It certainly exists. Does it really certainly exist? Let's find out if it certainly exists or not. There's certainly a possibility that it could certainly exist, but does it certainly exist? That's the question.
What up, team? It's potential. Potential is everything that this system is about. I think it's worth reminding people that when the Azerites...
What do you guys always, wait, did he say a new name? Did he do a new, just a second.
What up, team? It's
he changed, I thought it was Holla Ballers. He did the new intro. What the hell's going on here? He's got a new intro going on. Because you're louder than the video, it's disproportionate. Well, okay. I'm sorry. I can turn myself down a tiny bit. I'll turn myself down to here, and we'll watch the video. Okay.
Potential. Potential is everything that this system is about. I think it's worth reminding people that when the Azerite system was announced, my first videos on it were super excited. There's a huge amount of potential, which is a big talking point right now, because people are like, yeah, it's kind of disappointing. The first round of stuff that we've gotten here is pretty disappointing, to say the least, but it has potential, and it really, really does. But we can't say that it's going to be a certain way. We can't do that.
Sorry, I had to turn off alerts.
What we can say is it might be that way, but we can't convince ourselves it's going to be that way. Because I see a lot of people now looking to 8.1 because we know...
See, look at this, boys. See, this is how defeatist the WoW community is. The game's not even out yet, and people know it's going to come out and suck dick. So they're just hoping that by the first pre-patch, it won't suck as much dick. This is the cycle, man. Is it comes out on alpha, people are like, wow, this is cool, it could use some improvements. And then it uses the improvements and it actually somehow gets worse. And then people are like, well, it's only alpha, and then it goes into beta. And then beta, it's like, wow, this is fucked up. And they're like, well, you know, by the time it comes out on live, it'll be okay. And then it comes out on live and it's not okay. And then they're like, well, you know, they'll fix it on the first patch and, you know, everything will be okay. Well, they don't fix it on the first patch. And then it just pretty much goes on through the entire expansion. And then the next beta comes out and the cycle repeats itself. That's how it goes.
Some class changes will come there, and if you watched my choosing main video, we don't know the breadth and scope of that. It might just be some minor changes to Shadow Priest and Shaman, for example, and everything else is just left as it is, which will be disappointing for many of you, I'm sure. But we can't suggest that it will be a certain way, especially based on what we have now. This is what we have in front of us. This is the evidence we have to work with. But I think we should talk about the potential for this. So let's clear up one thing right now. People are saying in 8.1 they might change the traits. They're going to add new and interesting traits. Blizzard has to be careful about how they do this, because one of the big selling points of the Azerite system is that it's not random. It's not random. If you get this head, as we've said several times, from Atal'Dazar, it will be that head until the...
I've disabled the alerts. They just won't stop. The long boys keep coming, boys. I don't know what to do. Like, I clicked disable. I clicked disable. And they won't stop. They will not stop. I think there's a backlog, and that's why. Okay?
The end of BfA. Dungeon loot, based on what we've seen in Legion, will remain identical. Just the item level will go up. That's it. So once we say to ourselves, this is... I can't find head. Classic Mike. These traits that we see here will be the same traits that we have at the end of BfA. Most likely. They could overhaul the system. Probably not, though, because that is an enormous undertaking to say... One, we need to change 211 plus traits, right, that we talked about in the spreadsheet. And also, people will have farmed for their stuff. People will have gone, that's the best one for me. I need to go and get that and then work towards that for months. And Blizzard can't really change that. And
Preach is now suggesting that Blizzard cannot move the goalposts. So let me give you an example of them moving the goalposts. Whenever Emerald Nightmare was out, Arms Warriors were really good. And then Nighthold came out, and Arms Warriors were not as good as Fury Warriors, so now you had to completely re-gear. And back then, not only was it that much of a cock in the ass, but you also had to get 54 traits. I had 54 traits in almost all 3 of my weapons back in Nighthold, okay? It was a bad time. You had to get new legendaries, you know, those random fucking things that you can't control? Well, you had to not only get the 2 best ones for Emerald Nightmare, but then you had to change fucking specs, artifact weapon, level that shit up like 50 fucking hours, and then you had to get new legendaries on top of that. Oh, and you had to learn how to play the class, which admittedly was the easiest part.
As we know, a big part of WoW these days is to keep the dungeons relevant forever. That's why Mythic Plus exists.
That's true.
So how could they
That's true.
introduce new and interesting things? Okay. Couple of downers to start off with. The likelihood is that if they do, and they will, introduce new traits when the new raid tier comes, that they'll probably attack it like Legion, because highly unlikely they're going to add more loot to these dungeons.
Ooh.
They could, probably not. So what they're probably going to do is every raid tier introduction include a dungeon with it, and that will contain the new Azerite stuff. That seems pretty likely to me. So it's the same way it works in Legion. We got Tomb of Sargeras, we got Cathedral of the Eternal Night, we got Antorus, we got the place that shall not be named. And in there, maybe that's how they add in new traits.
Wait, which one was the place that should not be named? Which one was that? Oh, Seat? Yeah, fuck that place, man. Fuck Seat.
To the pool. But they can't really be that good if they go with that system, because then that kills the rest of the dungeons. People won't want the loot for the rest of the dungeons if they release new head, shoulders, and chest into that one dungeon, or 2 dungeons, or whatever they decide to include, that are just significantly better than the ones that already exist in the game.
That's true.
Because that destroys the parity they're going for. And they are going for parity. It doesn't matter what route you choose to play your end game.
Listen to this.
Mythic Plus,
Listen to this. This is really important.
3. You'll be attaining the same stuff, right? You'll all have the same traits, and they'll all be worked out that way.
That's the problem with the game right there. That's the problem. Everybody in the game, doesn't matter what you do, you get to the same spot. Who cares? Who cares? There's no it's not special what you get. It's not special what you obtain. You're not unique. You're just the same. You just have maybe different colors, different names on your armor, but it's all the same shit.
So to expect that within this outer ring, later on, we would get really good traits, probably not, because that then dwarfs the other ones, and that makes a big problem. That destroys the entire intent that comes with along with having the Mythic Plus system, having dungeon loot in the first place, really disrupts the status quo of what they're trying to achieve. So what could they do? That doesn't mean they're screwed, by the way. The likelihood, there's a couple of likelihoods here. One, they introduce a new Azerite armor slot. Say legs.
That would be good, because then by the end of the expansion, every piece of gear you had would be Azerite armor. Like, imagine if, like, all right, this is my perfect world, okay? You have your piece of gear, and it has the Azerite traits on it. You can upgrade it multiple times. You have to enchant the gear, and then also you have gems in the gear that are innate to the gear, so you have to put gems in the gear, and then there are also blacksmithing enchants you can put on top of that, and then you upgrade it with a Valor system, and so like it takes like 45 minutes just to figure out what you're gonna do with your boots. Like yeah, dude. Yeah, like Miss Pandaria, but more.
Let's just say legs. It could be anything.
You'd be sitting there at Taco Bell eating a fucking sandwich or eating a taco, thinking about what you're going to do with your gloves. It'd be great. You'll love it.
Within there are new traits. So you still get to benefit from the old traits, and the legs would have a better trait, right, that you get in there. Mm-hmm. Would they then put them into the older dungeons? Who knows? Maybe something like that. But then
this is very interesting
with that as well. That would then take up 5 armor slots with Azerite armor.
This makes a lot of sense.
One of the things we know is they wanted to get rid of tier sets because they said it was taking up too many armor slots, taking away choice for the player, all that kind of stuff. So probably not. The more realistic idea would probably be another ring. another ring that you get to choose from,
Oh.
or an extra couple of traits that come in here.
Oh.
Now, I say that they could put extra traits into this armor. So as the item level goes up with a new raid tier, that's typically what happens. All the item level in the dungeons,
It's like a
bumps
tree.
up so that they're all matching, and we've got this parity of
And the
item level.
older it gets, the
Is
more
that the newest
lines
stuff
it has.
another trait in here. Also quite likely.
We smart.
And the reason for that is it seems to me that the most obvious addition that's going to come over the course of the expansion is the ability to choose 2 things out of the outer ring, which is the class ring. And the reason I say that is, and this might happen very early, I don't believe it's been confirmed, but it seems most likely. If we go into the Uldir raid, so this is the Azeroth armor that drops in raids, and we look at it,
Okay.
that comes with a trait that only works in Uldir. It's the universal trait.
What?
But as it currently stands,
What? Your armor gathers and analyzes combat every 5 seconds, increasing your primary strength by 8, stacking up to 20 times. The data decays while out of combat, enables re-origination array within Uldir. That's so stupid. I hate that. Why are they making everything... Why did they do this? Why do they do the things that people do not want them to do, and then they don't do the things that people do want them to do? Blizzard. Why? Just do the things that people want you to do.
trait. But as it currently stands, choosing this means I can't take the class one. Right? So this has to be so good that I can't take the class one. Or they make this so good that you're forced in your raid Azerite armor to take this trait over the in what some cases more interesting one, or the one that works with your setup of gear. So same with PvP. As I said, I'm currently wearing PvP armor. I've chosen the class trait Whiteout, but in order to do so, I had to not choose the PvP universal trait. I can't choose that. So that only works in PvP and would provide an advantage in PvP, which is likely where I'm going to be. So over the war campaign, it's pretty likely at some point they'll just say you can choose 2. So you can have the specific one for the area.
What
you're in,
dipshit thought of
the raid
this?
one or the PvP one, and you can have the class one. And if they introduce
so
extra, let's say they doubled them up. So there's 2 fire, there's 2 frost, and there's 2 arcane in this mage example. Then you could have 2 class ones, or you could have the specific one and the class one. It makes sense, doesn't it? Like, it makes sense that at some point we'll be able to choose 2 things out of here. Otherwise, what's the point? If the class one is so much better, why have the raid only one? And is it a nice choice for players to have to choose the raid only one, which is, again, it's just a passive stat boost, over the one that works well with my class? That's something that I think is, I mean, I think I've covered the bases there.
Wow.
The other option, which is almost a definite, I would imagine, is as the item level goes up, another ring is introduced. And that contains something more similar to these things.
He's not entirely right. Part of the trait works everywhere, and part of it works only in that specific place. Well, I understand that. I get that, and I still think that's bad. If you want, like, the way that I look at things, I feel like your character should function the same way everywhere, right? And like, the only differences that I would be okay with seeing are things like an ability that's really overpowered in PvE is, like, nerfed in PvP, like Draft of Souls, for example. Like, only damage tuning. Like, I don't want to see abilities functioning differently. I feel like that's absolutely terrible. So I understand what you're saying, and you're right that that's not it. The trait has like a universal functionality on top of a PvE or raid exclusive functionality, but I still feel like that's bad, but it's not as bad.
These are like, there's 9 of these shared across every class. There's, as I said, there's some healer ones and some tank ones thrown in there. That also contain some more interesting stuff, some fun stuff to grow our power. And over the course of the expansion, that armor just gets more rings with more choices to do. That could be something that happens there. Now, when it comes to potential...
Okay, quote if autism, just typed in chat, complaining about a game that you will play 16 hours a day. Lol. Well, guess what? That's why I'm complaining, because I'm going to be fucking playing it all goddamn day, and I want it to be good. Duh! What the hell you think?
There's a lot they could do. There really is no limit. It's their game. They can do what they want. I think they are locked in terms of strength of the outer traits. So I personally would prefer it if we just got extra rings and they had more interesting stuff in them. And
like a rapper, he's got like 10 rings.
Going to bind themselves to just class-specific stuff. They are completely locked without taking up another Azerite armor slot, like we said earlier, with them being on par with what we already have. They have to be balanced around that. What you can't have, and this is something we do have right now, I know a lot of people are asking, what are my best traits to get? It's an obvious question when going into a new expansion. Which ones do I want to be targeting? Which ones are better for me?
Stupid question.
They haven't tuned them yet. Some of them are ridiculously powerful.
Yes.
Fun is different, right? We're talking about power here.
Fun is
some
wrong.
Some are very powerful, some are really weak.
Okay.
And that will come down to a tuning pass, which has got to happen like any day now. But I probably won't be here to cover it because I am going on vacation. But it will be soon, so we can start to plan that out. But hopefully that makes sense to you as to why, or the potential for this system to go well. And I do want to put a personal note here. I hope it does. I really do.
Well,
because this system could be really good. They could have done so much better with this. As we said, but considering the Azerite armor does change slightly, it's just a universal trait, depending on the source you get it from, they could have made the entire set, say, from dungeons, great for Mythic Plus. Like a lot of stuff that works wonderfully in a 5-man environment and counters the affixes. Works well with certain affixes. That would have been really good. With the raid stuff, they could have designed the traits around the idea of being in at least a 10-man plus group, right? Yeah. And the mythic stuff, which has to be 20, could have been designed around 20. And we could have had some teamwork stuff going there. And there's history of that. We know they like group-based stuff. Pantheon trinkets, the WOD ring, all these things are designed to work with your fellows in that environment. They could have also done it with World Quest stuff. They could have made really fun, interesting World Quest sets that I would have gladly equipped.
Oh my god!
I've got raid gear. That's great in raids, but for outdoor world stuff, or maybe farming old transmog where we're in stop, start, burst damage environments, they could have built some cool sets around that. But they haven't gone that road. Doesn't mean they can't in the future, but they haven't gone there yet. Let's talk about some other stuff. So we showed on the web show. So I didn't really show it on YouTube, and I'm kind of regretting that I didn't do that. Is that they've changed the way item scaling works. So what I'm talking about here is when they budget an item. So they say an item is item level 355, and then they have a calculation. That should have X amount of main stat, intellect, or strength, or whatever, and it should have Y amount of secondary stats. And this, ideally, keeps things in perfect order, right? So that item level increases also linearly increase the secondary, the bonus stats that come with that item, but they're not jumping around. So there's a pair of shoulders that have absurd amount of stats on them.
I want to re-emphasize what he said because I think it's a brilliant fucking idea, okay? And I'm amazed that Blizzard isn't doing this because it seems obvious as soon as I've heard it. So what he's saying is that the Azerite armor that you get from each different type of content should have traits that benefit you in that type of content. So that means that if you're doing a World Quest type thing and you get Azerite armor from World Quests, then you would go and in the Azerite armor traits, it would give you something like a Bear Tartar thing in the middle, or something that would help you kill mobs faster, or something that would allow you to you know, it would be a gap closer or something cool like that. In PvP, you would have Azerite armor. I don't even know if Azerite armor works in PvP, but it would give you something that, you know, reduces the amount of time that you're in CC. If you're in a raid environment, it would give you like 5 more, I don't know, like strength for every single other person in the raid or something stupid like that. And all of these different things could work together, and that way you had a separate level of specific type of content progression because you'd be getting Azerite armor to build up your effectiveness in that type of content. So it would be a second level of progression that players could go through without it necessarily being required, because you could take your stuff over from the other side, from like PvP to PvE, etc. It just might not be quite as good. So this is an amazing fucking idea. And this makes me mad. This makes me mad because it's so good. This is fucking brilliant. And now it's not going to happen. 3 armor sets? Yes, I'd rather have 3 armor sets. I'd rather have 3 armor sets that are interesting than 1 armor set that's not.
Pair of shoulders that have no stats on them, right? They have a simple calculation. Now, in order for in order for BfA to do what it's trying to do, which is item level is king, because that's kind of how the community has made it. Blizzard isn't completely at fault here. The community has made it, I don't care what garbage bag I wear if it has a high item level, because that helps me out in my lone wolf pug style world, right? Makes no sense in organized raiding, but in the pug world, which a lot of people play in now, that kind of makes sense. So in
What?
let's have a look. This is Legion, so I'm going to show you Legion now. So this is how the items are budgeted in Legion for raw stats. As you can see, there's kind of a tilt towards main stats, that's the blue line, and secondary stats linearly increase. Now, what happened in Legion, as we all know, or should know, is that because this didn't increase that much, and secondary stats are clearly so much better in certain environments, and I'll explain very basic why. At a certain point, you're hitting so hard because of your main stat, right? That's all that buffs, is just how hard you hit.
Okay.
That it actually becomes far more beneficial to start critting more while doing that damage. So stacking crit, for example, which was pretty plentiful in Legion, is actually more damage, because getting like an extra 1 damage from intellect is not as good as getting regular like double damage from critical strike. And haste would work the same way. It's better to get more haste because I'm hitting this hard, I should just hit more often. Works out more damage than just trying to stack this while not caring about secondary stats. Now, this led to obviously problems in the pug world, people equipping whatever old random shit and doing less damage, which was a big problem. We did a lot of videos on this, is people equipping random nonsense. In BfA, they've changed it to this. So what you can see here is that main stat, strength, intellect, or whatever, is now exponentially going to increase over the course of BfA. And as you can see here, secondary stats, way
0 to 60 real quick.
At the bottom. So I'm here, right? My character is like 355,
Holy
so he's like
shit.
in the middle, and I'm starting, and this is only the first tier of raiding, and we haven't got access to the really good stuff yet. You can see I'm already climbing this ladder where intellect will be just so good, right? So going back to our previous example, yeah, my next item level upgrade might increase my damage by like 6, whereas haste would be far better for me. In BfA, that intellect jump is going to be like 100, and the haste is only going to go up like 2. So you can see here with the secondary stats, they're massively crushed down. So, and the whole purpose of this is just to make sure that if you get an item that's an item level upgrade, equipping it should be a DPS gain regardless.
So I want to focus on that, right? Is because Blizzard, what they've realized is that their players are not able to understand the difference between haste and mastery, critical strike, and versatility. These numbers and these words are way too complicated for the player base, and at the end of the day, they do not pay $15 a month to read. Okay? They don't do that. So what they've changed it now is that at this point, it doesn't matter what you get if it's an upgrade. It's basically, if it's an item level upgrade, it's basically a fucking upgrade. And the secondary stats are pretty much static no matter what, which means that your class is not really going to play any differently unless Blizzard makes changes at the end of the patch versus at the beginning of the patch. I feel like that fucking sucks, but that's what they're doing right here. Oh, and also, if you look at the scaling here, if you're starting at, let's say, 300, and then you're going to end at, let's be honest, about 1,000, that means by the next expansion after Battle for Azeroth, we're gonna be back up to easily over 1 million health again. Like, I don't know what Blizz, like, why does the numbers have to go up this many times? Like, just make more overlap between the raid tiers, and it would be easy. Like, why you gotta do this?
It's because it's just going to be making you hit so much harder, regardless of how fast or whether it crits or not. It's just
Blizzard.
so much harder. That's the idea. It won't apply to absolutely every class. There'll be some finicky stuff going on somewhere, but in general, that's how it's going to work. That's the numbers right there. If I remember, I'll stick it in the YouTube description so you guys can take a look at it. It's a wonderful post and you should have a read. Okay. But what does this mean then? Well, on the face of it, it says what a lot of us have been saying is like, actually, if your character starts off slow at the beginning of BfA because there isn't much haste, or anything like that, then it's likely not to get that much faster by the end of the expansion.
Right.
Because there just isn't enough seconds.
You never gonna go fast.
Not entirely true. This is a good thing. Kind of.
No, I don't like it.
This, though, carries a lot of stats. Now, I want you to note something here. My character is 350. This is only 320, and this does level up, and it carries a lot of secondary stats. When I say a lot, that's item level 320, right? Look at how many secondary stats. That's 180 of each. This is a 370 back. It has 87 haste and 42 mastery.
How does it scale?
You see the difference? This carries a lot of stuff. Now, what are the implications of this?
Oh.
I think they do understand, like on my basis, they understand two things. One, the community as a mass function of what they do and what they forced upon themselves by rules will do terrible things to their characters to make their lives generally easier. Such as equip any old dog shit that happens to Titanforge, because it makes this big number that they changed to make the big primary number go up. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter if there was another number here that said your DPS and that went down. This number goes up. And for most people, that's a big deal, because that makes them more likely to enter pugs and stuff, right? That means that maybe not because they're dumb, which I think is the go-to, is like, why are you wearing, let's say I need crit haste.
It's 308,
why are you wearing
boys.
all verse mastery gear? That's terrible.
Sorry.
We see that all the time in Legion. Are you bad? Maybe. maybe. But I refuse to believe, honestly, RPGs and managing stats and stuff is something kids have been playing since they're like 5 or 6 years old. This isn't complicated stuff. If you were playing...
Yes, it is. You go... This is the thing. It's not complicated. You go into LFR. People are... I saw one guy that did the dungeon in WoD. And there's this warlock in there. He was doing 1,000 DPS. And he had on a necklace of treasure finding that he bought from a vendor in Shadrath City in Outland. And for whatever reason... I told him about this. I was like, why do you have the necklace on? He's like, oh, I forgot to swap it off. And I'm like, wait, why did you swap it on in the first place? And he never responded. So the idea that people, yeah, they're just fucking dog shit. And the reason he was doing a normal mode is because he was too fucking terrible to get through silver proving grounds back in WoD whenever it was required to do heroics. So this is where we're at. The idea that people can't figure this shit out is not true. People are stupider than you can even imagine.
Like say Chrono Trigger, and you were equipping plus magic items on your physical damage dealer, you're a bit of a twat, and therefore fuck off. No one wants to play with you because that's really stupid. That's massively stupid, especially when there's a magic user right next to you, right? But most players are stuck in a world where this number is more important because it opens doors for them. Yeah, we did this in the newbie project. So maybe Blizzard's got a little smart about this and kind of had to accept players are going to do it no matter what we do. And therefore, we strip away the secondary stats from here and we just bake most of the gains into this item so that they are naturally gaining the important secondary stats and they can equip whatever dog shit they want in other slots. Because remember, Azerite armor doesn't have any secondary stats. It's all gone. It's all gone. And then this will just naturally take care of everybody. And this could be what does make your character faster, crit more, do all that kind of stuff over the course of the expansion. It's just the Heart of Azeroth. Now, that's kind of a lie.
Wow.
Not just the Heart of Azeroth, because there are other items that do not carry main stat, and that's the important thing. So the Heart of Azeroth is just over budget as it is. But what the hell? It's artifact quality, guys. Look at the color of it. It's not blue, not purple. My God, this thing's amazing.
It is a Heart of Azeroth. I mean, come on.
Rings. Rings are going to become very, very important because rings are the only other items that generally don't carry a main stat. Your gloves do, your weapon does, right? Trinkets are ropey. I mean, they carry main stat as well, as you can see there. In fact, you can see because of BfA, I've kind of rolled with stuff that gives main stat, and it's worked out very well for me to do that.
No, because you're not top
Rings
DPS.
are going to become super
Number
important
2, you're
because
below
you can
the
see
DK.
they have a lot of stats on them. You can see there it's like 200 a piece, where it's half, less than half for everything else, right? It doesn't matter if they're 360 or whatever. This is a 330 ring that has like 200 of a stat and 150 of another, and you compare it to like a 360, it's 100 of one and 60 of the other. So the fact that it doesn't have this exponential item level increase on the main stat means there's way more budget in the item for secondary stats. So what I'm saying to you with all that bluster is it should be okay.
It should
Is
be.
it interesting and fun? I
No,
think not. I
just
think
saying.
it's really
Yeah,
sad.
there we go.
Because it's the only logical thing I can think of is we cannot trust the main player base not to gimp their own characters just to make this number go up. We can't do it.
This is the thing, though. Is like, how is this Blizzard's fault? Their player base is so fucking stupid. They don't realize how anything works. And Blizzard, instead of trying to figure out why this is happening, they just changed the entire game to accommodate for the bottom 10% of people that can't fucking figure out how to deal with numbers.
People have been doing it for years. Doesn't matter how many resources and channels there are telling them that is wrong, do not do that. They still keep doing it because it actually has a benefit to them. Right? And that's the reality. It has a benefit to them. I would prefer if they found guilds and got on, but remember, according to the Master Loot thing, that's full of cloaked, hooded figures denying loot to everybody, apparently.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
It seems like Blizzard's kind of gone,
we've got to
right,
give the power back to the
that's
people.
What you're going to do, we're going to outplay you. It's going to make the game way dumbed down, because this is no other way of looking at it. This is way dumbed down. If the number is bigger, put it on, in most cases. If you're clever and you have 2 items that are the same item level, then you can choose one with the better stats. Of course you can. No one's saying you don't do that. But generally, if you get a Titan Forge, stick it on. Because we're just going to buff the shit out of this stat that we know everybody is wearing. And that's where most of your secondary stats are probably going to come from to try and, over the course, because this is way under leveled, by the way. As you can see, it's Titan level 320 compared to everything else I'm wearing. And as you can see, it's nowhere near the level I need to actually unlock the rest of my armor. I need to upgrade it there, I need to upgrade it there. And if we go to the raid, if I change this to Mythic, you can see it needs like item level 31. Heart of Azeroth level 31 to actually unlock that stuff. And this is all first tier stuff. That needs Heart of Azeroth level 33 to unlock it. So I will point out here, the Heart of Azeroth level and its item level are kind of different. There are quests that just boost it up. Like you'll just get a quest that's like, I'll add 15 item levels to your Heart of Azeroth. They're separate things. So there you go. That means that potentially, and I think this is a positive video, potentially Azerite armor could be really good. Could be. But we don't know that, and we've got no evidence of that. But it could be. We'll have to wait and see. They certainly have not said in 8.1 they're going to do anything with it. Don't get that in your head. That's just fabricated by the community in hopes and dreams. And it could also mean that we no longer really need to care about secondary stats because they've taken it out of our hands. Whether you like that or not, doesn't matter. For the top end, it won't matter either. I think I need to be clear on this. Because at the top end, we're likely to be hitting repeat items of the same item level and therefore are still able to maximize our stats appropriately like a normal player would do in an RPG, you would hope. So at the top end, it shouldn't be a big deal either. We'll still be choosing the better rings. We'll still be choosing the better boots, legs, and stuff. It's just it has less impact on us, right? And it has way less impact on the casual player base who's just sticking whatever old crap on. I'm not saying everybody's doing that in the casual player base. Don't put words in my fucking mouth. But you know 100% players are doing that. They are getting any old shit that has a bigger number than what they're wearing and they're sticking that on. That's happening regularly.
So the whole game has to change.
Positivity. It could work out really good. My big
There's
concern,
just no
as
evidence
always,
of that.
Is simply right now going into BfA, I don't have anything to look forward to on any of my characters. That's
wow! Woo! Positive video.
I think that's a fair thing to say. On my mage, I'm not looking forward to anything that I get with this new system, and seemingly going all the way up until the end of the first raid tier and throughout the game, there is nothing for me to look forward to.
Wow.
That's my issue.
That sounds great.
There we go. But it could get better, and it could take care of a lot of our worries with whether or not we'll be able to speed up our characters. Will they play similarly to how they played in Legion a little bit, minus the legendaries?
What are they doing, man?
All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful Saturday.
What is going on?
Hopefully you guys are having a good time. I'll see you again. Bye-bye.
What is this? Why are they doing... What is this, man? I don't... What the fuck, man? I'm so confused. Why? Why did they do... Oh, man. Guys, by the way, the video that I'm watching, I should do this more often. I'm going to do it right now. The video I just watched is that one right there in the link. It's from Peach Gaming. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a thumbs up. That's a great fucking video. I think it was really well put together. His ideas were great. Make sure to subscribe to him. His content is amazing, okay? So make sure to go give him a thumbs up, give him a sub, give him some support. These videos are great, okay?